Informative, educational, objective, inclusive, comprehensive. This is Progress Report. Updates and conversations from the Government Information Service.
Hello and welcome to Progress Report, updates and conversations from the Government Information Service. My name is Ivan Khanna with my beautiful co-host, Gleneva Hodge, and we have the man of the hour here, the Honorable Minister Kyle Hodge, my classmate, my basketball buddy from Langrong. Left foot on the Stony Ground School football team.
Left and right.
Left and right. All right, so you see he's not cutting anything short. All the accolades in the world, man. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show with us today. And we're going to get right into it. The lovely Gleneva Hodge has been trying to keep me in check. I tend to run off and talk a lot. So if you see her give me the eye, it's not that she's going to fight me. It's because I need to just hush. All right, so it's nothing to do with you.
No problem.
So you remember from last time.
Yeah, we remember from last time.
But thank you, Kyle, for being here. Welcome to Progress Report. We are very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Great. We know that you are recently back from a trip to St. Kitts and Nevis. Tell us a little bit about that and what were three of your top takeaways from that trip?
Well, thank you for the question. And if I could just start by saying that since I became Minister of Economic Development, Natural Resources, etc., I started to follow a lot of Facebook pages throughout the region, the various agriculture ministries in St. Kitts, Grenada, St. Lucia, agriculture, fisheries, natural resources. I started to follow all those pages. I tend to do a lot of research.
Okay.
So upon doing my research and upon stumbling on the St. Kitts Natural Resources Facebook page, I noticed a lot of activity. I noticed a lot of support as it relates to those sectors in St. Kitts, agriculture, fisheries, and the environment.
Right.
And I was intrigued. I was intrigued with the amount of communication that goes on that Facebook page. And based on what I saw, I reached out to the Minister Alexis Jeffers, through my permanent secretary, Chanel Petty-Barrett, and we organized a trip. And the trip lived up to expectations.
Wow.
Because what I was seeing on Facebook is what I saw on the ground.
Okay.
I saw a country that was always serious about food security. The facilities are in place, so that's the number one thing that I realized. They would have invested heavily in abattoirs, processing facilities.
Wow.
They have a lot of support mechanisms for their farmers and their fishers. And they would have gotten a lot of support also from linking with the Taiwanese, the Japanese. They would have gotten a lot of capital injection from some of those countries, as well as some technical support. What they have down there that is going for them, as it relates to agriculture, is a depot. So everything that is grown, everything that is caught, the fisherman, the farmer, they don't have to worry about the marketing aspect of things. There's this agriculture depot that is government run, that you can just sell. You can sell in bulk, and you can focus on fishing, you can focus on farming. You don't have to be everything to that business. You don't have to be the marketer, you don't have to be the salesperson. You don't have to be the one cutting the deals.
Right.
You perfect your craft, which is your skill, which is farming or fishing, and they take care of everything else.
So I ain't jumping too far ahead, but I tend to do this because you guys are throwing these nuggets out there and then leave me there.
It's a conversation we have.
All right, it's a conversation we having, unscripted, unfiltered.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't something like this work here?
Why wouldn't it work?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was really tried.
Okay.
That is, I'm new to this ministry, so it is something that I'll propose.
Okay, because off the bat, what you're telling me there, I know a few fishers, and I can imagine that they they would want to just go out and fish and know that
Of
their
course.
catch is sold and don't have to come.
course.
I know a few farmers and they would love to, like,
I know a few as well.
they got a steady rate of pay, they deliver, and then this cooperative, this, what was
Depot.
it? This depot just supplies,
Agriculture
okay,
depot.
all the
But
supermarkets,
If I
hotels,
could,
everything.
if I could say something, I had a thought just now that lasted. I've spoken to a few farmers, so a few fishers, who would also love the idea. What the department was missing for a long time, the local agriculture department, is a marketing officer.
Okay.
That position is now filled.
Okay.
And that is Miss Aldine Trim.
Okay.
And she will liaise with the supermarkets, the restaurants, and get their information from them, get their quotas, get whatever estimates they have for the upcoming month. She is responsible for communicating with both private sector, which is the supermarkets and retail, and also the farmer, the grower, the fisher.
Okay.
So that helps. Filling this position will help a lot to achieve what we're trying to achieve with a depot, if it's possible.
Okay.
I'll throw it out there.
No, but actually that brings me right into kind of where I wanted to go with this.
Yeah.
You know, you're speaking about the depot and you see that works well for them.
Yeah.
And Ivan asks why it wouldn't work here.
Yeah.
I would ask, what would it take
Yeah.
for it to work here?
Right.
What do you anticipate something like that would need for it to be implemented here?
You know, first of all, we have to look at the statistics as it relates to what we import into this country. And those numbers are high. Pretty much
Ridiculous.
we import everything.
Yes.
We rely on foreign countries, big countries, United States, European Union, whatever, to ship us their goods.
Yeah.
So if we single out maybe 5 or 6 key crops to focus on those crops, then we can start to build programs. We could start to target certain farmers to say, look, this is the amount of millions that we export in dollars to bring this produce in.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage, cucumbers.
Yeah.
All of these things, I went around to a lot of the greenhouses and the farms in St. Kitts and Nevis, and that is what they're focusing on. They're focusing on the leafy greens, they're focusing on the cucumbers, the peppers, and it's working, you know. What they do is they specifically target farmers and say, look, we have been importing a lot of coconuts recently.
Yeah.
You know, we want you to manage this field of coconuts. We're going to plant 4,000 coconut trees on this area, on this plot. We want you to manage this area. So they actively, the permanent secretary, the minister, they actively look at what is coming in mass and communicate the potential to the farmers as to how you can live, how you can make this a livelihood, how we can cut down on the foreign exchange, and how we can keep this money within our economy.
Right.
So that's what we have to do here. And, you know, we've started.
Yeah.
We've started. So what made me smile is that a lot of the conversations that I've had with the ministry, the PS, it made me smile because from the jump when I got in,
Yes.
these were the conversations we were having. So it made me smile because I realized that I was not wrong with the approach.
Right.
It's just now to put the framework in place
Right.
to realize these things in Angola.
You touched a little pain point, however you want to look at it. Depends on which side you fall on. Framework.
Yeah.
What's in place for agriculture right now that would say this is where we want to be in the next 5 years?
You know, we have to look at our vision again, and we have to prioritize because there's a lot to do, you know. And I was cautioned by Minister Jeffers, and I was also cautioned by my PS that we can't do everything all at once.
Right.
You know, I'm coming in, I'm seeing a void, and I have all this enthusiasm. I want to do everything.
Right.
But that's not the way you're gonna get things done.
Right.
You know, we have to now refocus, set a vision for the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and say this is what we want to accomplish at this particular period. So, fresh off this trip, I had the director of natural resources along with me, Miss Melissa Mead.
Yeah.
Fresh off this trip, we're gonna go back to the drawing board and prioritize maybe 5 key areas to work on. It can be livestock. It can be certain crops. St. Kitts and Nevis, they have a vibrant livestock sector. They have cattle, they have pigs, they have the abattoir. You can bring your animals to a professional slaughterhouse. We still slaughtering in our backyard.
On the side of
the road. You know. So we have a lot of limitations here to overcome.
But go ahead, Gleneva, because I can get in trouble today.
Get in trouble. Let's go.
A little bit of good trouble in a
right,
bad
right,
thing.
right. Yeah.
But I want to get back into something that you sort of brushed on, and a current issue that's out there. Recently, government of Angola announced the removal of customs duties and a number of importation taxes on a number of items, of basket items, if you want to call them. One of the concerns that was raised is that we saw eggs, fish, and bread in particular. Those items were included in that basket list. We have a number of egg farmers here. Right. We have a number of bakeries.
Right.
We have a number of fishermen. Can you give some insight as to what was the thinking behind including these, as opposed to, I'll note that, let's say some baby food, some baby milk, those things weren't included in that list, so baby formula. Can you give some insight as to how you decided to include these and not some others?
Right. It's a good question. The overall goal, of the reduction of customs duty is to give relief. We are still heavily reliant on the imports. So even though we have egg production, even though we have bakeries, what else was on there? Even though we have an abundance of fish, we are too overly reliant on imports. So the impact, we expect it to be felt in a positive way on those imports. So we're not gonna be food secure right now.
Right.
We're still working on building our capacity, building the capacity of our local farmers, the egg producers, the fishers. So we have not gotten to the point where we could say, okay, let's just carry the duties up on these things sky high, so that we can encourage more people to shop local. We are still too dependent on the imports. So the goal was to just overall give an ease. We do give an ease already to the local egg producers. We went to the house, we gave them duty-free concessions on the feed, we gave them duty-free concessions on the crates. So all of their implements is duty-free. Same thing with fishing.
Right.
So right now it's kind of at an even playing field, as opposed to.
If I may, because when I see these things, I often I spend a little bit of time in government as public relations. You see information, you hear information, and you see the macro and micro of how government is run. You understand? A lot of people just see the big picture. There's a lot that happens in the micro perspective. How does customs define fish?
Yeah.
Because we got Heinz around here, we got Jacks, we got Doctors, we got parrotfish, we got mahi-mahi, we got the tuna ever so often. But when you go to the restaurant, you can order swordfish, you can order tuna, you can order. And then I know for instance, a number of the restaurants, they want them with particular size ounces. So you say we don't have an abattoir to slaughter, but we also don't have a fish production plant that would give the businesses the place their food in the way that they want. Again, back to how do we move forward? And you said something that I actually appreciate, that we are not quite there yet, but how do we get there?
I think that is leading right into where I wanted to go with this, in terms of, yes, we may not be where we would hope. And I really appreciate, you're saying that there is relief that the egg producers that they get in terms of, and I don't think anyone was suggesting raising the duties on them.
I actually saw that though. I saw that on Facebook.
Okay, that's a little strange. Ivan, you keep getting me,
Okay.
But that is a little strange to me. But looking at maybe putting them at a neutral position, so as to instead of having the imports and the producers on the same level, that we move to a position where we start to give our local producers maybe a little bit of a foot up. And so that, you know, they're in a position. Because if I can go to the store and I can purchase eggs, local eggs, at the same rate that I'm purchasing overseas eggs, what's the incentive? So that's the question, you know. At some point, we have to start to look at what is the incentive to buy local.
Right.
And ultimately, whether we like it or not, I am going to use my term, Ivan. This has been my term.
Listen to this.
We know that our dollars aren't dollaring
Sound
the
like a
same.
rapper, right?
we do know that our dollars aren't dollaring the same.
When you
as
said it,
it
what
used
you
to.
mean? You gotta break it down for me.
I feel good.
And so what it means is that the dollar doesn't stretch as far as it used to. And so if our dollars aren't dollaring, at the end of the day, the majority of persons are going to look at, well, if this is 2 crates of eggs sitting right next to each other, and the local one is maybe $1 more than the imported one, I need my dollar to dollar a little bit more.
Correct.
And so I think I would like to see us move into a direction where we aren't just looking at having them at the same level, but we're looking at giving them a little bit of a step up.
Right. The truth is that cost has skyrocketed for everybody.
Right.
It didn't leave anyone out.
Very true.
You know, so it's something that, you know, farming, fishing is subsidized throughout the world.
Right.
I mean, one of our limitations, and it's huge, is the cost of water.
Don't look at me, Kyle.
I wasn't even thinking that.
Don't look at me,
I'm
Kyle.
not gonna say it.
Disclaimer.
The cost of water is a serious limitation. We lack affordable water, and we lack land availability. You know, in St. Kitts and Nevis, in abundance is water, in abundance is land. They pay 10 EC per 1,000 gallons. I think at the rate of 3 cents, up to 10,000 gallons in Angola, the farmer pays $40. So it's 4 times what St. Kitts and Nevis is paying.
We wish we can do that. Maybe,
So-
Ivan, I'm going to jump ahead. Sorry, Kyle. I'm going to jump ahead. And last time you told me who our next guest was going to be, I'm going to suggest who our next guest would be so that we can address the cost of water.
Well, how do we fix the water issue? You know, and it's something that I go to sleep studying. And one of the suggestions that I had of recent is to allow farmers to directly tap into wells. And I know it's going to be a fight, but it's a fight that I'm willing to fight.
Okay.
Because if we're going to take food security serious,
outside.
I ain't fighting you, you know. It ain't you ain't fighting.
Hey, listen, all I can say, right, is are you happy that I ain't gonna get it?
I can make sure you take a little bit of it, like.
But if we're going to take this thing serious, then we have to give access to water
That
to
is
our
true.
farmers.
That is true.
I know of farmers in Angola
Yeah.
that are struggling because of the cost of water. They are starving their crop under 10,000 gallons. They don't want to expand to bigger fields because they're going to exceed 10,000 gallons. Because when you exceed 10,000 gallons,
You
your
got a
rate
different
goes to
rate.
10 cents.
So let me ask you a question, and this is me being me, nobody else but Ivan. So, legislatively, we do something to give the farmers a little bump. How are we to know that this isn't going to be exploited, that the water is going to be used for the crops? We've seen, every time we come here, we talk about some incentive that government does or some relief. We talk about, during the pandemic, the PPEs, remove the duties, the government lost 4 million plus because some places went up 400% on these things, and PPEs and on Lysol and wipes and them type of things. Who's to say, and farmers, I'm just putting it out there so we can have a healthy discussion about it. Who's to say that this isn't gonna be used for something else?
Yeah.
How do we police this?
You can't police everything.
Okay, good. And we're okay with accepting that risk.
In everything.
Okay, good.
You will have small losses.
Small
Hopefully
losses.
losses remain small. Okay? You can't police everything. But the idea is to allow access to wells.
Okay.
And you know, some might say, oh, the water coming out of the wells.
She's humming.
The wells, the water coming out of the wells.
That is a discussion, Ivan, that we will table, and I will let Kyle finish because that is a discussion that we're going to table for another time when we're going to look into, because Kyle, I agree with you in that water is an issue, and it's not just an issue for our farmers. The reality is it's not just an issue for our farmers.
But let's prioritize food, though. Let us prioritize food.
And
that's all I'm saying.
I agree. Okay. And water is a basic human right. And until we are willing to get to the nitty-gritty of what it's going to take to fix water in this country, and I don't think, really and truly, and this is me and my own honest opinion in my experience on both sides of it, unless we are willing to approach water in a comprehensive manner, not in silos, not just looking at it from a food security, not just looking at it from a basic human right. When we are willing to really address water in this country and what that means and what it's going to look like, I think once we start to talk that, we're going to have to bring that to the table.
Yeah, I please do, because to tell you the honest truth, and I'm not being facetious in any stance. Like, during the previous campaign, I heard this water thing so much, I got a little bit of PTSD from all the water you guys here saying now. So I would want us to move on.
Right, but you know what will help is if we go heavily into the protected agriculture. The hydroponics, the greenhouse production, the Dutch buckets.
Because I know you have something behind the school.
Right.
Tell me, what is a Dutch bucket? Because you just...
So a Dutch bucket is a system where there are lines running into a pot. You're growing out of pots. They call them Dutch buckets. They call them different things. So you have lines with water that is dripping, and then you might have a little solution for pH balance and what's not. And you have a greenhouse, a shade house, and you have rows of Dutch buckets. So you're not going into the soil.
Okay.
You're not going into the earth. You're going into pots. So you're gonna have the right soil balance within that pot.
So it's a bit more controlled.
Bit more control, and it uses less water. And then you have the shade, which conserves the moisture in the pot. So that's the future, and that's the way to go. And there's so many things you can grow. You know, you can go up high. You can go into the vertical farming within these structures as well.
You know, and I'm just thinking because I'm kind of, I tend to picture things when people talk. You mentioned the land a while ago. We have a lot of land in Anguilla, but a lot of it isn't farmable because of one clay soil. Arable.
I learned my terms too.
It's not arable. Good. Let me. It's not arable.
Yeah.
So maybe this might be our approach to some areas. Yeah. Listen, let me tell you something about me. George Hill, I don't think it's that I don't have a green thumb, but everything I plant in George Hill does dead. Mango tree, mint, lime, whatever I plant there dies. But the soil there is very, very rocky, and somebody said that the soil dead. I think it was Carvel tell me the soil dead. I know he know about soil, but Carvel tell me the soil dead. Yeah. But there are areas where we can get into that.
Yeah.
What impact do you see for the backyard farming though? Like on that scale, and if you're thinking about this depot, can they add to that too? This is what I'm wanting, because we're only so big in nature, but we want all this supply. So where does it come from?
Yeah, the depot, is a center that will be open for all. Backyard, professional, traditional. Those who are using the greenhouses, the depot will be there for everybody. It's something that we, I think, will be the number one priority going forward into the end of 2022 into 2023. The depot does make a lot of sense. The farm that we have behind of the high school, it was donated to us by Linkers Limited, and I continue to just say thanks to Andy from Linkers for his generosity. That will be a showcase. That will be a display to all farmers, of the potential that protected agriculture can have, the impact that it can have to reduce the imports and to just provide food for the country.
Awesome. And on that note, I think it was just a few weeks ago, we were seeing some notices put out by some grocery stores, and you kind of hint at it a little bit throughout our conversation, where a number of them were plagued with shipping issues and we had some food shortages on the island.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that some external event will prevent a prolonged period of us not being able to import food? How concerned are you about that impact on us and where we are at with food production?
Very concerned. The external events are happening now.
Right.
You know, the war between Russia and Ukraine is ongoing. The COVID pandemic is ongoing.
Yes.
So we are, the world, globally, we are going through those events.
Chicken flu to our bird flu or
Yeah,
something.
and we're not hearing about that. The news is taken up by other things.
Yes.
But that's happening as well. So it's very concerning.
Overload.
Very, very, very concerning. And this is where it's important to establish good relationships with our brothers and sisters in the region.
Right.
So from this visit, I would have built a bond. You know, it's like family now with the administration in St. Kitts Nevis, with the minister, with the PS, with everybody in agriculture and fisheries. And you know what the conversation and the meetings led to? To the talk about trade. Us having an abundance of fish and other things, and being able to ship those things direct to St. Kitts Nevis.
What does their oversupply look like? Are they currently at a production capacity where they can export, or are they still kind of like us with our egg farmers, still not necessarily at the point where they're producing enough locally?
They still rely on some imports.
Okay.
So you would find that, you know, no system works perfect. So you would find that, some folks might have an excess. But it's because communication might have broken down and, you know, they grew too much. They didn't forecast properly.
Right.
So there would always be need to export something here and there.
Okay.
Maybe not on a consistent basis, but they're certainly working towards that. And that is something that we will have to work towards as well. But establishing that trade link amongst our brother and sister islands is something that is vital.
I'm actually happy, extremely happy to hear that. And it brings me to one thing. I think we gotta wrap up. Let's look at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna let you ask. I had a follow-up question for Kurt, so if
I think your follow-up question might be the question I want to ask. So you go ahead.
Actually, I doubt it very much, but I'll tell you, Kurt. I'm so happy to hear about looking at linkages with other islands and where we can import and export to. And I probably would not be able to go back home if I did not ask this question, because it's a conversation that I consistently have with my mom. And one of the things is that she's always saying, why don't we tap into the resources that are available in the Dominican Republic? Not just Dominica, but Dominican Republic.
I know, but I'm going with the same thing. It's there in Jamaica and other places.
You know, in those bigger islands that definitely have more than enough to supply their needs and to export. And you know, she has been completely fascinated by the abundance of fresh vegetables, fresh produce that you can get in those places. And just wondering, are we even exploring those opportunities? I know you looked at a lot of places with their Facebook pages, and that might be difficult because of the language barrier. But is that something that you have either explored or willing to explore?
Yeah, have not explored it as yet, but as you were talking, a thought came into my head. During Hurricane Irma, I think we got a big shipment of poultry. From Dominican Republic. I think it was imported by Dundon from LA Cafe. Yeah. So now that you brought that up, you know, it's something that definitely worth exploring.
And that was my spin-off, to look at those areas, because go down the islands, travel anywhere else, you see Caribbean products. The most I see here is ting, a bro, and what, you know, our friends from Dominica and St. Lucia would bring in and sell at the market. Like, why aren't we exploring those relationships a bit more? It doesn't take the OECS to do that.
I mean, but we already have the OECS, and why not utilize the things that already exist? We have OECS, we have CARICOM.
Yeah.
Why aren't we utilizing the vehicles? No need to recreate the wheel. You know.
That's definitely something to look into, because we have to start someplace, and maybe just maybe the importation cost from these areas would be a lot less than coming from the United States. You won't get away from that totally no time soon.
No.
At all, to be for
because you also have to take into consideration consumer taste.
Of course,
Right.
of course, but I think we can see a little bit more Caribbean products,
Of course.
in our stores made available. To be entirely honest, our population is shifting. We're a bit of a melting pot right now. We have a lot of Dominicanos. We have a lot of people, Dominicans. We have Jamaicans. We have St. Lucians. We have a lot of people that contribute positively to our society here now. And it's the new and reimagined Anguilla, if you want to look at it that way.
But the hurdle that we will have to overcome is the shipping. You know, we don't have a reliable network.
We don't even have that in flight, bro.
Right, we're struggling to maintain the flight. So imagine, how are we gonna keep it consistent?
Right.
Via ocean.
But Anguilla has all these sailors.
Is that a business idea that we're
It's a business idea.
that we're trying
See,
out
now
there for
we've
someone?
gone into another area of his ministry.
That we're gonna definitely have you back on, because Ivan touched very, very briefly on this, and it's something that came out in almost every episode that we've had so far, and that's consumer protection. And so as we wrap up, Ivan, unless there's something that is pressing that you want to get into.
No, I'm excited.
Yeah.
To tell you the honest truth, I'm excited for you. I know we had a conversation off record when we talk about the water thing. Hopefully that will start to materialize. When I went out with you before you left a couple weeks ago, I like that process. I like that thought. I know you're a man that's going to drive hard at this. I believe you're going to get the support from the rest of your cabinet to do something, because the farmers need attention where water is concerned. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on Progress Report. We'll definitely have you back, right?
Yeah, man, this was good.
I like that he's now asking.
Yeah, I have to ask, because I just realized out here, blood talk, this person, that person. She's talking, we're talking just before
It's a conversation. I like this.
Good.
But this setting is perfect.
And this is what we want to do. We want to bring these conversations to the people of Anguilla, so that they know what's happening within ministries, so that it's broken down on a level that everyone can understand, everyone can appreciate. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we look forward, like I even say, having you back. We're going to definitely be looking at consumer protection once we have you back, and some more into that economic development bit. So thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you to our listening audience for joining us for what has been another excellent episode of Progress Report.
All right.